Good day and Assalamu alaikum. I am Arafat O Tabua, 19 years old, and I live in Pangosaduk, Marawi City. And I'm taking the course Civil Engineering in PIASI. And first, the introduction. There are a lot of issues of personal identity in its determinants has always been of concern of many philosophers. There are questions raised as to what those being the person that you are from one day to the next from various philosophical perspectives of self. The perspective of John Locke is what caught me and I somehow believe in it. I have learned a lot of philosophical perspective from many scholars and knew their difference, but what John Locke defines self is more believable for me. In the body, John Locke holds that personal identity is a matter of psychological continuity. He considers personal identity or the self to be founded on consequences and not on the substance of either the soul or the body. To understand Locke's philosophical perspective more, I have researched about it and I found out that John Locke was one of the philosophers who were against the Cartesian theory that soul account for personal identity, and it has been said to be one of the first modern conceptualization of consciousness as the repeated self-identification of oneself. He also holds that personal identity is a matter of psychological continuity. Locke posits an empty mind, which called a tabula rasa, and is defined as shaped by experience and sensation and reflection being the two sources of all our ideas. Indeed, we found ourselves on consciousness because when we are conscious, we get to understand and be aware of the things around us. And when we understand things, we are able to reflect on it. For instance, when we decide on things, when we are conscious, we know how to handle it. We know how to decide and we can figure out whether the decision we made is a good for us or bad for us. Furthermore, I also believe that we were empty since the day we were born, but when we grow up and I feel with experience, we get to be conscious. For example, when I was young, I didn't pay much attention when it comes to my family problem, but now I have grown up and has been conscious of what is happening. It's hurt me to know the problem that my family is facing, but because of that, I have learned to reflect on it. I have learned the meanings and the importance of the things surround us. Therefore, personal identity is not in the brain, but in consciousness. Conclusion. I conclude that a person for Locke is thus the kind of entity that can think self-reflectively and think of itself as persisting over time. Persons are therefore not just thinking intelligent beings that can be reason and reflect and consider themselves as the same thinking things in different times and place, but also entities that can be held accountable for their action, because person can think of themselves as persisting over time. That's all.